Hi there, welcome back to Save with Crypto, Bitget Basics. This is the third episode where we're going to look at doing some leverage trades with Bitcoin this time. So what I did in the last video was I did a spot trade where I used some USDT Tether and I basically bought Bitcoin at what was a reasonable price. And so now in the spot account there is some Bitcoin, and I want to transfer that to the CoinM Futures account. If you've come from ByBit, this is the equivalent of the inverse perpetual. Okay, now I'm going to try and transfer this here, but hang on a minute, there's not very much Bitcoin there, is there? So what's the reason for that? Okay, if you watched the show yesterday, you'll probably realise that I've got a spot trade set up. So let's have a look at that. So let's go to trade and then spot. And just have a look. Oh yeah, okay. So that needs cancelling. Okay. So cancel that one. So if we go back to the wallet now and have a look at assets and then look over here into the spot account, you'll see that now all that BTC is available. Okay, so I can transfer that from the spot account to the CoinM Futures. Okay, so let's transfer all of that. Okay, check in the futures account, look at CoinM Futures, and you can see if we hide all the zero balances, you can see easily that the BTC is now there. So we can trade that now. So if we click trade here, that will take us to the futures Bitcoin account. Now, there's a few things you need to change here because I think this one here, I think when you first open Bitget, I think this is on cross. Generally, unless you really know what you're doing, don't use cross, use isolated, okay? Because with cross, if you've got multiple trades going on at the same time, and one gets into trouble and maybe it gets liquidated, it can liquidate your entire account and you lose all your money. It does mean you tend to not get liquidated as often, but when you do, you lose all your money. And obviously that's not the sort of thing we want to happen ever. And really, until you know what you're doing, that's what I would do. I would use the isolated. Okay, so do that. The actual leverage you're using, if you're a beginner, literally 2 or 3x. I'm going to use 10 on this because I'm only going to use a very small position. Okay, but I'll show you the consequences of this in a moment. Okay, so we're using 10x leverage on isolated. By the way, if you're shorting, so if you're trying to bet on the price going down, you can actually alter your leverage separately there. I had that on the crazy 35. I'm actually going to leave that on that because I have a plan for a big short coming up in the future. Basically, when we get to 29,000, I think it's going to crash right down to like 22, but that's the subject of another video. Now, I personally don't like to use the actual charts on the exchanges very much. They're not very versatile. I like to do, more my charting stuff over on TradingView. And if you like, I can do another, series of videos, if you like, about TradingView and how I use it. Might not be the best way at all, but, I have my kind of method, if you like. I tend to use a few indicators. The ones I like at the moment are this kind of green and red band one here. This is called the Whole Suite by Insilico. I like that one, and I also like these VWAP standard deviation bands version 2 mod. These are both free indicators that you can get on TradingView. If you're interested in that, you can go to savewith.crypto.org/TV, and that will give you a free trial. And if you decide you want to upgrade to a pro version, then it gets you $30 off a annual package, I think it is. And at the moment, we're having quite a fantastic dump. I'm actually really tempted just to quickly go into this trade with a very small position. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a market buy that will buy at the current price. And I'm just going to use 10% of what we have, and that will fill straight away. So what you'll see now is this order down here. Now then, what usually happens when you rush into an order like that is you don't get the bottom because, it clearly went down a bit more, but it just seems to be coming back up a little bit at the moment. So what you can see is the order down here, right? Now, the important things that I look for is mainly this percentage here, right? That is currently minus 0.83%. That's okay. That's not going to worry me. Now, please do understand that here we are trading Bitcoin against the US dollar, but we're actually using Bitcoin as the underlying asset. So we're basically trading the dollar value of the Bitcoin against Bitcoin. So what we're looking for is changes in the Bitcoin value, and then when we close the trade, we'll be left holding Bitcoin. So we started off with Bitcoin, we end with Bitcoin. I hope that's clear because it did used to confuse me a little bit. There are other options as well. For example, many of you might be used to the one that's similar to the USDT M futures. That was equivalent to in ByBit, that was the USDT perpetual, where you basically have Tether USDT, which is a stable coin tied to the value of a dollar. So you have a stable coin that you trade against other assets. So you start off with USDT, you do your trade, you come out of the trade, and you're left holding USDT. There are advantages and disadvantages with each one. I like doing both at the same time, to be honest, and what I tend to do is if it's an asset that I believe might go down in value, I would tend to hold the underlying asset as a stable coin, so I'd use USDT perpetual trading. If it's an asset that I think is going up in value, I would tend to hold that asset as the underlying asset. So in that case, that would be Bitcoin. At the moment, I'm not sure about Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is certainly going to go up over the next 12 months. I would put money on that. But over the next few months, I think it might go down quite a lot. So I'm tending to do a little bit of both at the moment. But here, what we're using is Bitcoin. Now, in Bitget, this is a bit annoying really because it shows you things like the unrealized profit and loss in Bitcoin value. So it's 0.00001267. Does that mean anything to you? Well, you kind of get used to it a little bit because if you realize that 4 zeros after the point and then 3 or 4 is about $1, okay? So over here we've got 4 zeros and a 1, so we're talking like 20-30 cents there, so that's nothing much at all. But it is annoying because in ByBit this shows you that in dollar value, and if this really bothers you, then maybe you should be trading the USDT M futures, but we'll cover that in probably the next video, because in that case it would show you the actual value in Tether, and that might be much easier to understand. But really, overall, what we're looking for is a nice big green number here in the percentage, something like 5%, 10%, that kind of thing. Now, one thing to note here is the liquidation price. This is really important because what would happen if the value of Bitcoin got down to that value, or even close to that, say 25,000, this loss here would be nearly 100%. At that point, if it becomes 100%, the position gets liquidated and you lose the money. In this case, we're only using 10% of the capital, so it wouldn't be devastating because it's only like $14. Now, you're going to have to do your own research about setting stop losses and take profits, but if you want to do that here, what you can do is set your stop loss so that, say, if you're only comfortable with losing, say, like 10% of the value, you could set this at something like, that 10.11%, and that means if the price comes down to 27,266, the position would be closed, and you'd make a 10% loss. Okay. In the same way, if you want to set a take profit, so let's say I want to take profit if this goes back up to 28,000, then I'm going to get 15% profit there, which would be nice. If you want to do that, you just click confirm. And then, being Bitget, it has these kind of weird words that are obviously translated from an Asian language of some sort, saying confirm to end trust, which is quite strange. But anyway, so if you do that, that will set up these extra orders here. So you basically got your stop loss there and your take profit there. And you can move these if you wish. For example, I might want to move the take profit up to there as well. But we'll have to talk about stop loss and take profit in a future video, because at the moment I'm just showing you how the platform works and maybe how it differs from ByBit that you might be more familiar with. So I'm actually going to remove this stop loss for the moment because we've got more dry powder, as they say, to build a better position. So what I can do is put further orders down here to try and average down my entry. So I've got the lowest possible entry for this trade. But that kind of thing we'll cover in another video, because different people have different strategies. Some people like laddering into a position. Some people just like, going in quite heavy with what they really think is the best price. And people who don't know what they're doing tend to FOMO in when they see a big green candle going up. They tend to sort of like go long at that point, only to find the price comes back down and then they're in a loss. So generally when you're seeing big red candles, you want to be thinking about going long. And when you're seeing big green candles, you want to be thinking about going short. Now the thing is with derivative trading, there is a fee. And the fee is charged to your account every 8 hours. The fee is really, really small, but after a while it can be significant, especially if you've got a large position or if you've got large leverage. So generally with trades like this, I like to leave them open for at most a few days, possibly a few weeks, unless it's going really, really well. If it's going really, really well, you can keep them open for months. And, if you're like thousands and thousands of dollars in profit and you're still paying fees every 8 hours, but it's not that much, it might be worth keeping the position open. But you'll discover that more as you start to trade with leverage. So leverage is very risky. It's very easy to lose all your money. The trick is not to be greedy. That's where I've gone wrong many times before. Too big a positions, too much leverage, and not being able to accept a loss if I have to. Now, generally, I've found that to make sure you get out of a trade at least at break even, if you're on 10x leverage, you need to make about 2%. If you're on 5x leverage, you can get away with 1%. But that won't make you any money. That will just pretty much put you where you started. So I think with this one, I'm going to put it back at something like 28,000, somewhere like that. If you want to check the percentage profit it's going to make, you can go to positions here, click that, and that will show you that you're going to make 17%. Okay. Now, one thing that's quite annoying about Bitget is when you bring up this dialog here, if you haven't got a stop loss entry in there, it won't let you close this box unless you untick that. Okay. And then you've got this one again. Okay, so I'll keep an eye on that. I'm expecting some sort of bounce, but it might come down to this kind of value here, like 27.2, but we'll see. Okay, so what actually happened here was the price came down to quite low, actually, 27.253, not quite as low as I thought it might go. And now it's back positive again. You can see that by the green numbers there. Look, for the sake of getting the video finished, I'm just going to move this take profit down to here. Now, I guess that will be probably about 3% in profit. I can just check that here, can't I? Oh, it'll actually be 4.43%, which is fine. But the position size is obviously really small. It's only $138, even with the leverage. So, it's not going to be very much. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just change that to the 1 minute time frame. So we've got something to look at. What is worth looking at on this is this up here, the funding rate. You can see it, the funding rate is 0.01 something. Now, positive 0.01 is a kind of normal funding rate. Now, sometimes you see this go very negative. When it's negative, that means everyone's shorting, or the majority of people are shorting. And usually the majority are wrong. So that's sometimes something good to watch out for. If you think the market's going to reverse, sometimes that will give you an idea. So if the price is going down and you see us being negative, then that's quite a good sign there might be a reversal going positive quite soon. On the other hand, if the price is going crazy, and I did see this happen in 2020, I think it was, when the price was just going, up and up by like thousands of dollars every few minutes, this funding rate went really high, and that was a sign that it was going to reverse and come back down, and that's exactly what it did. And typically I wasn't recording when the trade closed, but you can see it's closed now because the order's disappeared. If you look in order history there, you can see closed long. If I click this little arrow thing, you get the kind of showy off bit that you can post on various things, although it's not very it's not very amazing. It's 0.000212. I think that's about 40 cents, that is, but you know, we're already playing with a very small amount, weren't we? 4.26% though, not too bad. Anyway, so that is pretty much all there is to doing a very simple long trade using leverage, using the CoinM Futures account. Now, there are limited amounts of coins you can use for the CoinM Futures, which you can see by going to Trade Futures, CoinM, and then looking at these. So you've got Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Doge, Litecoin, Link, DOT, Tron, Bitcoin Cash, Avalanche, Uniswap, and EOS. God knows why people still trade EOS these days. It's just a nothing altcoin that doesn't do anything. Okay, so if you've got any questions about any of this, please do leave them down in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them either in the comments, or I'll make another video to explain things if something isn't explained particularly well. But generally, I'm not confessing to be a sort of expert on the Bitget platform, but I am using it, so it's good if people ask me questions, and then I can find things out, and then I learn more stuff myself, so that's all good. So if you like the sound of that, please give the video a like, make sure you're subscribed and got a notification set on all, and above all, tell your friends.